electric universe, especially them, right? They say, look, we have all these filaments out there, you know, and the question is, what are these filaments? And the electric universe answers, well, that's electricity flowing from one star to another, from one galaxy to another. That's what they're saying. Okay, that's what they think that is. So, and they use as an analogy the plasma ball. Okay, they essentially say the universe is an enormous plasma ball. That's their notion, that it's just a big plasma ball, and all these filaments are like, you know, in a plasma ball you get all that electricity. So let's illustrate that. Here it is. Okay, that's what a plasma ball is, and you can see all the filaments there. So they must be right. And what's the problem? Well, the problem is that there's no electricity outside of the plasma ball. In the case of the plasma ball, you have this glass enclosure, this balloon, right, that's enclosing the electricity. The electricity only goes just barely at the surface, right above the, in other words, right above the glass, or at the glass level. And it doesn't flow to another ball across the room or across the street, right? On the other hand, it's the magnetic field of that same ball which goes beyond the glass enclosure. So the glass enclosure contains the electricity. It does not contain the magnetic field that is being created by that same object, okay? And so we look up the plasma ball electricity, and here it says, is there electricity flowing outside the plasma ball? I asked the AI, right? Plasma balls are powered by a high-frequency, high-voltage power source inside the base. The glass sphere acts as a dielectric insulator, right, between the plasma inside and the outside world, creating a capacitive coupling. The high-frequency voltage creates an electric field that extends beyond the glass field, okay? But electricity creates a capacitive current that interacts with the glass. Okay, but then what you have, when you touch the ball, your body acts as a capacitor, allowing the small amount of current to flow from the ball to your body and then to the ground. The current is what? Very low, and the glass provides insulation. Yeah, so you cannot use the plasma ball as a analogy for the universe or for what happens between galaxies, because like it says there, the current is very low. Okay. You don't have electricity coming out of the sun, right, and flowing to another star or throughout the galaxy. Doesn't happen. You know, there is no electricity. What you have is a magnetic field. And here's the magnetic field, okay? Outside the ball, you will have this magnetic field as I illustrated it there. And here you have a better description of that. Let me get this one out of there. The magnetic field generated by a plasma ball extends beyond the glass globe, okay? And its strength diminishes with distance. Normal. We have that with any magnet, right? The field can be strong enough to induce currents in nearby objects and cause small sparks or tingling sensations, particularly when using conductive materials such as rings. The field's reach can extend a few feet or even some meters, right? Enough to potentially interfere with nearby electronic devices like cordless phones or Wi-Fi. Okay, so the magnetic field does extend beyond the plasma ball. The electricity does not. Not to any extent. I mean, it's right there at the surface. That's it. There is no electricity flowing from one ball to another ball. That doesn't happen. Okay? But the magnetic field does extend. That's an important point because, you know, the electric universes, they believe that galaxies have all these electrons flowing from one galaxy to another, and I was nice and I left the atoms there, but really if you get rid of the red atom, the balls, right, the little blue balls are the only ones that are flowing according to these people. The electron beads are flowing through the vacuum, okay? But in order for that to happen, they have to have all these particles in the background, you know, serving as atoms, because otherwise you cannot have conduction, right? Of electrons, right? Electron flows from one galaxy to another, or even from one star to another. That's irrational. And that's where the whole electric universe falls apart. So, you know, the question is, how different is that from the establishment? The establishment, the mathematical establishment, they believe that those filaments are actually have to do with gravity and not with electricity or magnetism. And that's where we see eye to eye with the establishment. It has, those filaments have nothing to do at all with electricity or magnetism. And that's what the electric universe has to prove or show. Really what they have to do is explain it in a rational manner, and they will not be able to. They cannot show that from one star to another you have electricity flowing, electrons flowing through the vacuum. Absolutely not. You can't. And again, from one star to another you have interstellar, you can even have intergalactic vacuum. And you're talking about a vacuum that, even conceding that you have an electric, that you could create an electric flow, electricity there, it's certainly not going to be either strong or constant. Okay, it doesn't happen. So these people simply don't understand something as basic as what the vacuum is. Out there you have lots of vacuum, meaning very high vacuum, meaning you're talking about 10 to the 12th upwards. And you cannot really run a constant current, really no current at all in my experience, but you can't run a constant current, a strong current from one star to another. So, even if you concede that there's an electric flow between two stars, it's not enough to power the sun. Absolutely not, which is another theory that the electric universe proposes. So they fill in almost everything. Nothing survives at the electric universe.